Hello everybody and welcome to Module 2 of the course. I don't want to lie to you, but this module is going to be challenging, so you want to be sure that you get in here quickly, you print out your checklist, read over it, and figure out when you're going to get some stuff done. I'm going to go over it just piece by piece. You know, last module I actually made a PowerPoint and I had my video inside of the PowerPoint and I went through it in detail. I usually don't do that. I usually just print it up and go through it line by line this way, just for people that are resistant to even entering the module. Perhaps my doing it in a video and explaining it helps. So that's what I do. If you're good at reading a checklist and you don't want to watch the video, don't watch it, but I will try to humanize it a little bit and talk about what you're going to do this module. Okay, so the warm-up is just a funny little 3-minute video. Hopefully you don't find it too offensive. I tried to cut out stuff that was too offensive, but I think it's a good analogy between giving birth in this video and the way we use technology in schools, or the way we could. So just watch it and kind of think about it. You don't have to do anything with it, just kind of check out that video. It's a warm-up activity. We have a section here called How to Podcast, and so I want you to read about podcasting. That'll tell you what we're going to do with it in this class. I want you to read over the TechCast instructions and let me kind of tell you what the TechCast is about. It's got two major parts. The first part is you're going to do research and look for 5 tools for your area, for what you're going to be as a classroom teacher or as a speech-language pathologist. Think about your future situation as specifically as you can, and then you want to go out and try to find tools, technology tools that will work for your situation. These tools could be hardware, they could be software, they could be websites. Sorry, I couldn't think of that word. Anyway, they can be. There's all kinds of technology-related tools, but I want it related to the computer. You know, it needs to be vaguely related to the computer. So, and try to push yourself beyond obvious things like smartboards. I know that, and don't use PowerPoint, please. Go beyond the obvious things. We all want smart boards and we all want computers and we all want to make sure we still have PowerPoint, but try to go beyond that and push yourself a little further than that. Alright, so I have a wiki that I've created called the Podcast Workshop Wiki, and so that's linked in here. It's item 3.3, and so that'll be a separate resource that will guide you step by step through the podcasting process. And if you look on the first page of it, which hopefully you've done by now, but if you haven't, it's not too late. I've actually provided the archive of my January 25th session that I had last week. One student showed up and we did the whole session. I walked her through the whole process, and you can watch that session. You'll just download that video and you can watch it if you just feel like this is too much. This podcast workshop wiki, too much. Too many steps. I'm getting overwhelmed. Then tell yourself you're going to take an hour and a half and watch that thing. That right there might save you some time and some grief, because it will walk you through the whole process from A to Z. And while it's overwhelming, there's nothing like looking at a big picture to then realize, let yourself panic for 5 minutes and then say, okay, now I'm going to break it up into the little steps and figure out what I need to do here. That really might help you to watch that. So if you missed the face-to-face session that happened last week, there are 2 of them. Okay, so the podcast workshop wiki is there to help you. There's 7 main steps to making a podcast. You want to, as a guideline, you want to try to finish the first half of the TechCast by this week, by Sunday, to try to get all your research done. So the next week, you can figure out the technology piece if you have to, but don't wait until the last weekend to do it all, because then you're just going to hate me and you're going to hate life, and there's no point in that. Just kind of space it out and keep yourself sane, especially because we've got a couple other things in here to juggle this semester, this module, I mean. Okay, so I also want you to check out podcasting in education. How's it being used in the elementary classroom, and how's it being used in the middle school social studies classroom? And I feel like the social studies applications can apply to other subject areas. I wasn't a social studies teacher, but the way that Eric Langhorst uses podcasts in a social studies classroom and for his own professional learning, any teacher of any subject area can do something similar. So be looking at both of these examples and think, how could I adapt this for myself? I think the Audacity program is really cool for at least PC users, because, well, it's cool because you don't actually have to install it on a computer to run it. You can run it out of a downloadable zip folder, which I show you in the archived session on the front page of the podcast workshop wiki. So you don't even have to install it. That's really great for school environments where you're limited and you're locked out anyway. You can't install things on school computers frequently, but that would allow you to do that. So you could podcast in schools. That's not stopping you. What might be stopping you is lack of a microphone, things like that. But the software is there. And if you're on a Mac computer, you can just use GarageBand. Using Audacity in this class, the skills are very similar to using GarageBand. So once you learn how to do it in one tool, with some effort, you can translate it pretty easily over to the other tool. So if you were on a Macintosh, you don't need to install anything. You can use GarageBand. And there's great tutorials on how to use that online. And I provide them in the class as well. So anyway, I feel like this is a translatable technology. That is, you may not use this exact thing, but the concepts here will translate into, they can translate into your future setting if you want them to. So be thinking, how could they? Is this something I could use? All right, so module reading. I've actually shortened the module reading because then I added the Prinsky discussion. The module reading used to be about a 40-page, the whole chapter 2 of Roblier. So I've got the Roblier book here. This is an old version of it. But I've shortened it down to about 15 pages, I would say. Yeah, 15 really good pages. You may already know a lot of this stuff, and so it would be good to review it. But basically, it's going to talk about 2 different approaches to the way we think about teaching and learning. And so on the one hand, we've got objectivism, which comes with like direct instruction, and then we have constructivism, which, so objectivism is this idea that there's knowledge out there, and the knowledge exists whether or not we're aware of it, and we can transmit that knowledge and learners can receive it. So it's kind of the old school view of learning, at least old school, like over the past 30 years. And it's still a common way to teach. You probably are taught this way at UWG a lot, unfortunately. But there's a good balance. It's good to balance the two. Constructivism is this newer idea of the past several decades that says that the learner comes to the learning experience and brings knowledge to it, and then creates new knowledge in kind of a social way, and builds knowledge and constructs it his or herself. So you've heard about this in your other classes. So I want you to review this, and then there's a few questions that you'll post on your readings page. I think there's 3 questions that you'll post about where you stand on the objectivist, constructivist continuum. It's important to be aware of this because it actually plays into how we use technology. Are we using technology just to broadcast and sort of lecture at students and let them receive information and then they answer the right answer? Or are we using it to let them build their knowledge in social ways? So it actually ties in directly to how we use technology in learning. So it's an important chapter, only 15 pages. It is dry, but it is good stuff. And as a teacher, you need to know it. And it could be that you read it, it goes in one ear out the other, and then you try reading it again, and over time, it'll begin to make sense. So you want to read that. What else have we got here? And answer the questions on the reading page. You don't have to turn in the readings page this module. That'll be next module, module 3. I'm at the end of module 3. Okay, so we have a discussion going on this module as well. Mark Prinsky, you've heard his ideas before. You may not know they came from him, but you're going to read this article, Listen to the Natives. It's actually an essay that he wrote. And you've probably heard of digital natives and digital immigrants. Digital natives are those of you that were born after 1980, and you are just magically able to use technology. It's like, you're like magic. It's like magic. When you use technology, magic happens, and you love it, and you're drawn to technology. And then we digital immigrants are clumsy with it, and we have to work harder to learn it. These ideas came from Mark Prinsky. But I want you to read this really short, readable, and it's full of pictures, so it's not that long, article. It's not really an article. I guess I would call it an essay. He's giving his opinion about the way he thinks that we can improve schools and we can, and teachers can do a better job, given that many teachers are digital immigrants born before 1980. We have, as he says, we are heavily accented immigrants to this new learning landscape. So it's an interesting read, and so what I want to do is I've split the class into 2 groups. One group will take a pro-Prinsky stance. That is, you're going to say, you're going to agree with Prinsky, even if you don't. Just agree with him if you were assigned to agree with him. That is, if your last name is like in the first half of the alphabet, you have to agree with him. And then the other half of the class, from the second half of the alphabet, needs to disagree with him. And so you have to make 3 posts. In your first post, you're going to, if you look in the discussion board, it'll tell you. I don't really want to re-give you the instructions here, but let me look at them very quickly. In your initial post, you want to take either your pro-Prinsky stance or your anti-Prinsky stance. So, and in your subject line, put whether you're pro-Prinsky or anti-Prinsky. And then in your first follow-up, I want you to go to the other side. So let's say you were pro-Prinsky in the initial post. Well, in your response, you're going to respond to an anti-Prinsky person and kind of argue with them. You're still assuming the perspective I've assigned to you. Then in your third post, or let's say your second follow-up post, I just want you to go respond to your own initial post and tell us what you really think. Okay? So use this opportunity to play and to question what Prinsky's saying or to agree with him. But, you know, he's just giving his opinion, and a lot of what he says is not backed up. So, you know, tear him apart or support him, but enjoy it and push yourself to try to think about what he's suggesting would help make schools a better place. And I wonder, do you agree? So I'll be looking forward to seeing what you have to say about that. I will try to chime in as the discussion happens this time. I'm not making any promises. I may have to go in at the end again like I did with Module 1 and just read them all as one and then do a group response as well. That might be what I do as well. But I'm looking forward to seeing what you say about that. Another thing that's kind of new for this module is the Progress Video Journal number 1. This is where you give your feedback periodically throughout the class. There'll be 3 times when you do this. You're going to need a webcam for this particular item, and you're going to turn on the webcam, kind of like what I'm doing here, and you're going to talk at me. And just talk for 1 to 2 minutes about how the class is going. If you go visit the Progress Video Journals link 7.1, it'll give you ideas for things you can talk about. You do not have to answer every question I give. I just give those as an example of things you could talk about. I just want you to reflect on the course and tell me how it's going. I learn more from those Progress Video Journals than just about anything else in the class. And I usually take notes on what you say in them. Actually, I could provide you the notes of what people have said in like last semester. You could see what other people said about the class at this point, and it might help you. So if anybody's interested, let me know. I can give you an anonymous list. I can't give you the list with the names, of course. But then you'll eventually, by the end of the class, you'll be posting the link to your Progress Video Journals page by the end of the class. I put the Dropbox there if you want to submit the link now. I'm not going to grade it until the class is over. And people will ask me about that. They'll be like, why are we supposed to submit all the Progress Video Journals now? But no, you're not. The Progress Video Journals will technically, you know, the whole page needs to be completed by April 22nd. But I do want you to be posting in a timely fashion. So at the end of Module 2 here, you need to post 1. At the end of Module 4, you post 1. End of Module 6, you post 1. If you don't have a webcam, you can come up to the university, and I've got 2 of them in the TMC that you can check out. And I have a tutorial on the Progress Video Journals page that shows you how to use the webcam in the TMC. Sounds like I got it all figured out, right? But probably not. So throw your questions at me. Some questions will arise that will probably throw me for a loop, as they say. I'm not good at idiomatic expressions, but anyway, I'm sure you guys will throw me for a loop this module, and please do. Let me know what help you need, and I promise that these intro videos, if you've even made it this far through this one, will get shorter as the semester goes on. I'm just trying to hold your hand, you know, as much as I can in the beginning, just in case. I overdo it. That's what I do. I always do it. And then in the end, I'll just probably start ignoring you. All right. I'll just let you get down to work. Okay.